The International Crimes Tribunal in Dhaka has just sentenced former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to death for crimes against humanity over her government's violent crackdown last year.
Case is the crime against humanity.
The 78-year-old fugitive politician was tried in her absence and found to be the mastermind and principal architect of a suppression in which some 1,400 people were killed. The tribunal says she ordered the deployment of drones, helicopters, and lethal weapons against unarmed protesters.
We have decided to inflict her with only one sentence, that is sentence of death.
Beyond the death sentence, the court also handed down imprisonment till death on 3 additional counts, including incitement, issuing direct orders to kill, and failing to prevent atrocities or punish those responsible. Stick with us and hit like and subscribe if you'd like more clear, concise breakdowns of global events. Hasina wasn't there to hear the ruling. The 78-year-old has been living in exile in India after 15 years of rule and is refusing to recognize the court's authority. She was assigned a state-appointed lawyer but insisted that the verdict was preordained. Legal experts say the verdict wasn't surprising. Everyone was expecting a harsh sentence given the scale of the student killings and the evidence presented that Hasina gave direct shoot-to-kill orders. But whether or not India is going to extradite her is another question. According to analysts, India has no intention of handing Hasina over. The interim government, on the other hand, led by Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus, denies the trial is politically motivated. The current government has said that the court functioned transparently with observers, open documentation, and full legal procedure. Sheikh Hasina's son Sajib Wazid says that she is safe under Indian protection, but he also warned that her supporters would not take this lightly. And that's the concern. The Awami League remains one of the country's largest political forces, even if it has been banned. At the heart of last year's deadly protests were young Bangladeshis who were angry about how government jobs were being distributed. Since Bangladesh's independence in 1971, 30% of civil service positions were reserved for war veterans and, importantly, for their children and grandchildren. But by 2024, that system felt deeply unfair, because it meant that thousands of highly sought-after government jobs were going to people simply because of their family background. And in practice, many of those beneficiaries were aligned with Sheikh Hasina's Awami League. For students facing soaring unemployment, the quota system became a symbol of entrenched privilege and political favorism. And that's why after the interim government took charge, one of its first major reforms was to drastically reduce the quota from 30% down just to 5% for descendants of war veterans, addressing a key demand of young protesters. Interestingly enough, the tribunal that convicted Hasina today is the same court that she created back in 2010. Her Awami League government established the International Crimes Tribunal, the ICT, to prosecute those accused of atrocities during Bangladesh's 1971 liberation war. At first, it fulfilled a national demand for justice, but over the next decade, the ICT became one of Bangladesh's most politically divisive institutions. It convicted and executed several opposition leaders, mostly from Jamaat-e-Islami and the Bangladesh Nationalist Party. Human rights groups accused the tribunal of rushed proceedings and political targeting. Hasina's government always denied this. With elections expected next year and the Awami League barred from participating, Bangladesh is entering an uncharted territory. And here's the regional picture. When Hasina's military aircraft landed in India on August 5, 2024, it wasn't the first time that she had sought refuge in India. It was a return to a familiar sanctuary. Nearly 50 years earlier, in 1975, Hasina and her sister were abroad when a military coup assassinated their father, Bangladesh's founding president Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, along with most of their family. With nowhere else to go, the sisters turned to India. Indira Gandhi at the time granted them asylum. In 1981, she returned to Bangladesh to lead the Awami League, and the rest is political history. Sheikh Hasina's fall wasn't just a domestic crisis though. It sent shockwaves across South Asia and especially in India. Analysts say that New Delhi overinvested in Hasina and underinvested in Bangladesh. Her sudden collapse left India scrambling to reset its strategy in a country central to its regional ambitions. Pakistan, meanwhile, sees this as an opportunity. Bangladesh's ties with Islamabad were tense under Hasina, but with her gone, Pakistan hopes to rebuild influence and counter India's regional dominance. At this moment, Bangladesh is standing at a crossroads, balancing justice, democracy, and geopolitics all at once. And this verdict is only the beginning.